What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today I want to go over and talk about 10 of the most important fitness lessons that I've learned in the last 8 or so years of me lifting, and not just like the surface level shit like how to track macro stuff like that, but more experience type things that I've learned from either nutrition or training over the last several years. So before we get started, make sure to smash that subscribe button. We're growing quick, finally just passed that 1,000 subscriber mark, so let's keep it up and let's hop straight into the video. Yeah. Alright, so the first major lesson that I think I've learned, especially in the last couple of years, because I've been doing this a lot recently, is being 6 to 8% body fat, shredded, bone shredded, is not healthy and it's not sustainable in any way. Obviously the first, I would say 4 or 5 years, I didn't focus on this at all. I just wanted to get bigger, build muscle. But really in the last like 3-ish years, I've kind of been happy with the size. And now it's, I'm finding myself cutting and trying to get shredded way more throughout the year. So yeah, going back to that like super low body fat percentage is just not sustainable at all. Like you are literally like sacrificing everything else in your life just to even try to maintain that. Your hormones go absolutely down the drain. You always feel like shit. You have no sex drive. You're always hungry. That's a big one. You're growling like through the roof. And obviously with low testosterone, you cannot build muscle really at all. So yeah, being that shredded is the cost of doing so is not sustainable, and it's not worth it. Like it makes sense for like a short period of time if you're going for a photo shoot or a bodybuilding show, stuff like that. But throughout most of the year, it just isn't sustainable. Lesson number 2 is you don't have to do certain exercises to build certain muscles. I always thought that you had to like train like some of these bodybuilders that I was watching at the time to get big chest, arms, whatever it was. But you don't have to do specific exercises to grow that muscle. So for example, if you want to get big legs, you don't have to squat to get big legs. Again, if you want to get big, let's say butt, you don't have to squat to get a big butt. You can do hip thrusts, and as long as you're progressively overloading on hip thrusts every single week, then your glutes will grow. Same thing with quads. If you're doing, you don't have to squat to get big quads. Again, you can do that with leg extension and really focus on progressively overloading every week. Lesson number 3 is overtraining muscles that you can see in the mirror. So it just makes sense, obviously. I think most men do this, is they overtrain their chest and they undertrain their back. It just makes sense. Naturally, what you see in the mirror is what you want to grow more. You don't really see your back as much as your chest, for example, with men. But that creates so many problems down the line. Obviously, there's a huge muscle imbalance, especially with chest and your back. If you're overtraining chest, then you're gonna have posture imbalances. Your shoulders are gonna creep forward. It's gonna lead to a massive increase in risk for injury, and it just looks bad. Your posture, everything is totally out of whack. So that's one big thing I definitely fell victim to as a kid. I just wanted to get a massive chest. Didn't really care about my back. I didn't really see my back, obviously, as much as my chest. So it is absolutely vital that you train actually more pulling movements than it is pushing movements, because you want to protect your shoulders. That's probably one of the main things that you injure, especially as a man, when you overtrain chest, because your rear delts become so weak or non-trained that, again, your posture goes forward, and just the way you do movements significantly raises the risk of injury. So I would recommend doing actually 2-to-1 ratio of pulling to pushing movements. Again, most men at least have overdeveloped anterior delts and underdeveloped rear delts. So you want to kind of even that out and protect your shoulders. Lesson number 4 is that most of your gains, most of your size will come within like the first 5 to 6 years of your lifting journey. So once you have about 5 or 6 years under your belt, you'll find that you've probably reached about 80% of your limit, your genetic limit, naturally. So that's again where most of your size comes, and then after that it's all about specialization. So the next 3 to 5 years is really focused on bringing out weak points or evening, fixing any muscle imbalances. But again, the most of your muscle mass will come within the first 5 years of you hitting the weights. Lesson number 5, this is a big myth. I've seen this kind of circulating around the internet actually pretty recently, which is soreness does not equal progress. So just because you hit a workout and you're extremely sore the next day or the next couple days, it does not necessarily mean that you are progressing. It just means that your body has not adapted to that movement, or you haven't done that movement in a long time, or you've never done that movement. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are progressing. Now, with that being said, it really depends on your training experience. So especially if you're a newer trainee, obviously you're going to be sore no matter what. And a lot of your progress is going to, again, happen in those first few years. So most of the time it is actually correlated, but it's not a causation of progress. So for me, for example, if I take 2 weeks off the gym for, let's say, legs, I don't do legs for 2 weeks, I then come back that's 2 weeks later, there's more than likely I will not have made any progress at all, because one, progressive overload drives hypertrophy, and there's no way I'm going to be squatting more after 2 weeks than I would before that massive break. So there's no trigger for progressive overload, which then equals to very minimal muscle gain, if any at all. Now, with that being said, I will absolutely be sore because I haven't hit that leg session the last 2 weeks. So again, that's a good example, and especially the more advanced you get, just because you're sore does not mean you're gonna progress or gain new muscle. Lesson number 6 is sleep is massively underrated. I definitely had this mindset of you can sleep when you're dead, grind, and I've really kind of shifted that mindset in the last couple of years because I've learned a lot about sleep and watched a lot of podcasts and a lot of research on the topic, and in my opinion, it is massively underrated. Like, that is literally where all your recovery, all your progress comes when you are resting. You're not making any progress when you're breaking down the muscle in the gym. It all happens after the next 36, 48 hours when you are recovering. So it is absolutely crucial to get, I would say, minimum 7 hours of sleep. If you get 8, that difference between 7 hours and 8 hours is actually really big. I'll link down below a podcast that will literally blow your socks off about sleep with Matthew Walker on Joe Rogan's podcast. This guy goes like really deep into like the mechanics and the science behind sleep and why you should optimally be getting 8 hours of sleep. Like, this will literally change your life, and if you are at a place where you're plateauing, you're not getting any muscles, then it's probably your recovery is taking a hit or you're overtrained. All right, so lesson number 7, again, is another big topic. I talk about this quite frequently on my Instagram, but no one diet is better than another diet. At the end of the day, calorie deficit or calorie surplus is king. It all depends on your calorie intake. So, for example, keto, it doesn't work for fat loss because you are eliminating carbs. Keto works for fat loss because by the elimination of those carbs, you're drastically reducing your calories, which will then put you in a calorie deficit, which is why you're losing weight. So this applies to any other diet. The only thing that matters for weight gain and weight loss is being in a calorie surplus or deficit. Now, obviously with your health, that's where the micronutrients and macronutrients come into play. But if we're just talking pure weight gain or weight loss, it really depends on your energy input and output. Lesson number 8 is that women will never get big or bulky by lifting weights. I think this is a massive misconception in the fitness industry. The reason for this is, first off, men have 20 times the amount of testosterone as women do, and a lot of them still struggle to put on size. So the amount of testosterone, which is the biggest and most important agent and hormone for building muscle, is so much lower in women that it takes so much longer to build, let's say, 1 gram muscle as opposed to what a man would build it in. The women that you do see that are like that are, one, either extremely high level athletes, and most of them are taking steroids. So if you're a natural, it is extremely unlikely that you will get big if you're a woman by just lifting weights. Lesson number 9 is probably my favorite one out of all the lessons, is form over weights. Form over weights. Form is the most important thing, in my opinion, when it comes to hypertrophy. If you want to build and target a certain muscle, your form has to be on point. I think the worst thing that I see in the gym is, for example, with bench press, guys will obviously want to get a massive chest, and they'll toss on so much weight that their form is so shit, and they end up just like using their shoulders or triceps just to jerk the weight up, and they're barely even using their chest. So it's no wonder their chest isn't growing. Reduce the weight, drop the ego at the door, and just really focus on form, putting as much tension on that muscle as possible, and I promise you, you're gonna see drastic changes in hypertrophy and building muscle. So again, form over weight. Lesson number 10, last but not least, is, in my opinion, supplements are a complete waste of money. At least 95% I would say of supplements, absolute waste of money. You do not need them. So if your goal is to lose weight or gain weight, 95% of that progress will come from three things: from optimizing your training, optimizing your nutrition, and your lifestyle factors. So things like stress management and sleep, like I talked about earlier. Those three things alone, if you optimize those, will make up literally almost all of your gains or fat loss in the gym. The only supplements I would personally recommend is one, protein powder, if your diet is not getting you enough protein. So for me right now, I'm getting all my protein from my diet, so I do not need protein powder right now. But when I'm traveling, it makes sense because it's much harder to get that protein intake when I'm traveling and abroad than it would be at home. So that can really help you if you are someone that struggles to hit their protein requirements. The second one is probably creatine. I've done a specific video on this, so check that out. I'll have it somewhere linked in the cards. But creatine is the most researched supplement on the market by far, and there is actual benefits to it, like proven scientific benefits to it. So obviously the biggest one is getting your muscles fuller with water. And a big misconception here is that you're going to get bloated by increased water intake that creatine causes, which is not true. The creatine that you have in your body, once your muscles are saturated with it, it will absorb the water, yes, but it's all going to be inside the muscle, so it's not going to be like under the skin causing that bloat look. So that is one supplement. Again, I did a full video on this, so make sure to check that one out. But creatine and protein are the two supplements that I would recommend if you are going down that road. Again, 95% of your progress will come from optimizing those three factors I touched on earlier: training, nutrition, and lifestyle. So that's it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed those videos. Those are the top 10 lessons I've learned over the last almost decade of lifting. Let me know which one of these you guys found the most beneficial for you. Comment down below. And yeah, that's it for me. Make sure to smash that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I saw over half of you guys watching this video are not subscribed, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.